This is an On the Ice and Behind the Benches podcast on the Sports for Beginners podcast feed.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Blue Jays, Dodgers. Well, that was fun. It was a 3-game series in Dodger Stadium. Kind of a thriller to speak about. Did we have playoff baseball? The 3-game series finale in 2-game recaps starts now on the Ice and Behind the Benches and Sports for Beginners. Lights up, let's go. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Well, hello everyone. Welcome into Blue Jays Game Recap. I am your host, Thomas McGregor of the program. It is the final 2 games of the Dodgers series on this edition of Blue Jays Game Recap. Thomas, why'd you say 2 games? Aren't you going to recap them separately? Well, I have decided to give you double the recap. Now, just like double dose, we will bring out Game 2 and Game 3 in a 3-game series finale, little double trouble. We'll start with Game 2 of this 3-game series, and then we will get to Game 3, but barring Game 2's player of the game, top performer of the game, we will not go over the American League or National League standings update until after we have broken down Game 3 of this 3-game series, which, if you may recall, started on Sunday afternoon at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:10 p.m. Central Time, 2:10 p.m. Mountain Time, 1:10 p.m. Pacific. We will dive into that pitching matchup a little later. The defensive alignment we're going to dive into right now for game number 2 as we welcome you into the show. And if you are someone who listens in Japan, konnichiwa, hopefully we're saying that right for our Japan listeners out there. It is Shohei Ohtani and David Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, taking on John Schneider and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, those are the teams of focus you see on the screen. Whether it's the left or the right, you'll see the Dodgers logo on the left side, the Blue Jays logo on the right side. Whichever way you're looking, they are the teams of conversation. Here we go. First off, pitching matchups defensively for the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Otherwise known in previous Blue Jay game recaps on Sports for Beginners as Meeting on the Mound, we had the left-handed pitcher 1-for-1 Blake Snell taking the hill against the Blue Jays pitcher, who is 11-5 at the time of the start, in Chris Bassett, or as Blue Jays fans call him, the Hound on the Mound. Now, the pitching matchups are out of the way. We'll get to the defensive alignment in just moments. It is important to remember, not imperative, that the teams we are talking about throughout this 3-game series double dose series finale are each first place in the National League West and the American League East. So, with this being said, both teams are at the top of their game, or in other people's cases, they're at the top of the mountain. But you can only be at the top of the mountain for so long. Now, granted, both teams are at the top of the mountain for what feels like a lot of games, but we are getting down to the big blowdown where teams like the Dodgers and teams like the Blue Jays have to compete to prove they deserve to be in the top of the league. So they have to prove that they deserve to be at the top of the league by winning as many games as they possibly can. Did they do it in this series against each other? We're going to talk about that on the other side. But now that we've gotten you into the match of first place National League West versus first place American League East, let's dive in to the defensive alignment for game number 2 and game 1 of this 2-game recap on Blue Jays game recap. It is the series finale, which means we're going to game 2 and game 3 of this show. Blake Snell, Chris Bassett, the pitching matchup. David Roberts lines his team up against the Blue Jays, sort of like this. We have Shohei Ohtani, the designated hitter for the ball game. He was the designated hitter for the 5-1 Dodger victory over the Toronto Blue Jays on Friday night. And he's the designated hitter for game 2 of this series. Moving on. At shortstop, Mookie Betts would play the shortstop position. Freddie Freeman joins the first baseman side. Max Muncy in at third base. Teoscar Hernandez out in right field. He joins in center field Andy Pages or Andy Pajas. Michael Conforto is in left, the left side of Andy Pages and Teoscar Hernandez. He will play in left field. Meanwhile, back to the infield, it's Alex Freeland playing at second base. And catching our pitcher in Blake Snell, there we go, Dalton Rushing. If I pronounce any names wrong, I am apologetic in advance. The Blue Jays game 2 lineup for John Schneider's Blue Jays would face off the infield and outfield that we have for the Dodgers in a matter of moments like this. Davis Schneider in left. In right and center field, we have Miles Straw, who will be in right field. Your center fielder would be Dalton Varsho, number 5 for the Blue Jays. At first base, we would have Ty France. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the designated hitter. At second base, we have Ernie Clement. Bo Bichette remains at shortstop after the 5-1 loss. Alejandro Kirk gets the catching duties against Chris Bassett. And at third base, it's Buddy Kennedy taking the hill at third base. So your infield consists of Alejandro Kirk, Ernie Clement, Buddy Kennedy, Ty France, and Ernie Clement. In case I missed saying that name, I know I probably said it, but in case I missed it, he is at second base. Your outfield consists of Dalton Varsho, Miles Straw, and Davis Schneider, who was leading things off for the Blue Jays in game number 2 of this series. All right, time now for the line score of game 2 of this 3-game series, and we'll get in to, don't you worry, we will get in to the afternoon contest as well, which was quite playoff baseball caliber. But we'll talk about playoff baseball caliber game momentarily. Now, going into this game, the Blue Jays had already lost 49 games. They had 68 victories and had lost 49 games. Going into the series finale, they had lost 50 games, which means their record was 68-50 going into the series finale, which was in the afternoon. But how did the Blue Jays lose game 2 of this 3-game series? The Blue Jays committed one error in this ballgame. The first of the series allowed 5 hits from their hitters, had 1 run to those 5 hits. They allowed 10 runs from the Dodgers and 9 runs each. The Dodgers, on the other hand, did not give anything free for the Blue Jays to counter on, so they would not commit a single error. They remain playing clean baseball, and if we recall back in Friday's contest, I should say, because it was a weekend set, I don't believe both teams committed a single error, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case. The winning pitcher is Blake Snell. His record now is 2-1. Chris Bassett's record goes from 11-5 to 11-6. He is now the losing pitcher. His ERA 4.17. And for Blake Snell, his record 2.37. So he pushes the Dodgers to 68-49, who at the time were 67-49, meaning they were, had they lost, one game away from losing their 50th game of the season. The Dodgers take it. They win the season series of 3 games in 2, taking 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays. But did they take the series and clear it, rather sweep the Blue Jays at Dodger Stadium? We'll talk about that coming up next. But before we get to the break, the Blue Jays and Dodgers next games will be between the LA Angels for the Dodgers, which got started on Monday, August 2025, and continues today, Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. The Blue Jays are getting ready for a 3-game set with the Chicago Cubs as they open up a 6-game homestand against the Chicago Cubs, and now the Texas Rangers will come in for the weekend set. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'll reveal what comes after the Cubs and the Angels for both teams coming up as the show continues. For now, we'll talk about Game 3 of this series. Wrap up Game 2 with the scoring, tell you how the scoring happened. That is next. Stay with us.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
It's Blue Jays. It is the Dodgers. It is Blue Jays game recap. Welcome back, everybody, into the studio for sports for beginners and on the ice and behind the benches. Always great to hear words from our friends over at Sienna Radio. And of course, our stations, Sports for Beginners and On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Keeping us back to the topic of conversation, it's the Dodgers, it's the Blue Jays. When we last left, we told you that we would talk about how the Dodgers and the Blue Jays played Game 2 out, but we also mentioned that we get you into the series finale, which was game number 3 of this 3-game series. Now, when we talked to you last, via Game 1's recap, we told you we didn't know how we would finish the Dodgers series off. Perhaps we'd do it the same way we did Game 1, all the way to Game number 3, where we would do Game 2's recap, and then go to Game 3 All right, we're doing it this way though. We're double downing, and now let's finish off game 2 before we think about going to game number 3. Once we're done with game number 3's breakdown, we will dive into both pitching lines for both 3 and game 2's matchups. We already mentioned the winning pitcher and losing pitcher of the Blue Jays and Dodgers second game of the series. Let's see how both pitchers did, though, in a matter of what will come at game 3's breakdown. First off, we start things off in our scoring, as we would like to do it, with Max Muncy homing his 16th homer of the season on a fly ball into left field, a 2-run lead open for the Dodgers. It is now 2-0 Dodgers over Blue Jays. So it all gets started over the bottom of the 4th inning. Going to the bottom of the 5th, and he has 39 homers already on the season. Does he get 40? Yes, he does. Mr. Shohei Ohtani gets his 40th home run of the season on a fly ball into center field. It is Dodgers 3, Blue Jays 0. Dodgers have opened their lead to a 3-run lead over the Blue Jays. Bottom of the 6th, Dalton Rushings singles on a line drive into center field. Andy Pajas scores. Michael Conforto will score. Alex Freeland will go to second base. And what is a 3-run lead is now a 5-run lead for the Dodgers, as it's now 5-0 Dodgers over the Blue Jays through the bottom of the 6th, still in the inning. Mookie Betts singles on a sharp line drive. This one out to left field. Davis Schneider deflects the ball by Buddy Kennedy, who's the third baseman. Alex Freeland will score on the play, and so will Dalton Rushings score. Freeland will score. Ohtani will go to second base. Shohei Ohtani will go to second base, and Mookie Betts will remain at first base. Is 7-0 Dodgers over Blue Jays. 7-run lead for the Dodgers. Still nothing on the board for the Blue Jays in terms of runs. Still in the inning. Andy Pajas, 19 doubles already on the season. Will he have 20 in this game? Yes, he will. Ground ball up to Davis Schneider, the left fielder. Ohtani will score. Mookie Betts will score. And Max Muncy will go to third base, with Andy Pages or Pajes going to base. It's now Dodgers 9, Blue Jays 0, and the Blue Jays are down 9 runs right now to 0. Top of the 8th inning, and the Blue Jays down 9 runs know they have to do something to show a little bit of effort. Bring in Ernie Clement. He already has 6 homers on the season. Can he get 7? Yes, he can. This one on a fly ball into left center field. It's gone. It's out of here. And the Blue Jays have cut the lead from a 9-run deficit over the Dodgers to now an 8-run deficit for the Dodgers over the Blue Jays. But that would be all she wrote, as the Dodgers would take it 9-1 over the Toronto Blue Jays, thus making the Dodgers a game away from winning the series. Top performers, player of the game coming up after we're done with game 3's breakdown, which is coming up in just a matter of seconds from now. But real quick, while the Blue Jays committed only 1 error and touched base 10 times with a homer, 5 hits, 1 run, to the 9 runs, 10 hits, 2 homers, the Dodgers touched base 18 times, so they touched base a little bit more than the Blue Jays did. 8 times more than the Blue Jays did. However, it's pretty even when you consider the people left on base in terms of LOB, which is left runners on base. The Blue Jays only left 9 men on base, and the Dodgers were, I think, an inning close to leaving 9 men on base. They could have left 10 men on base if the game went into a jam where the Dodgers had to see if the Blue Jays could get out of a jam and take care of business. Who knows? it could have been that kind of game. The Blue Jays could have still easily lost by 9 runs. They did lose 9-1, but they only lost by 8 runs, even though it was 9-1, the final score. If you look how many runs they needed, they only needed 8 more runs to tie the ball game. Speaking of tying ball games, it's about time we get into game 3 of this 3-game series, the series finale match. The pitchers, as mentioned, could have been, well, for the Blue Jays, it was no question that we would have Eric Lauer. However, the original starting pitcher for the LA Dodgers was replaced by Tyler Glasnow. But don't worry, Angels fans. Don't worry, Dodgers fans. The pitcher that was supposed to play Eric Lauer in the Blue Jays in why I don't know if I'll be able to pronounce the name, but I'll try my very best to pronounce the name. Don't worry, he would get a start against the Angels with Tyler Glasnow getting his start against the Angels, replaced to play the Blue Jays in the last match Sunday, August 10th, which of course was the last match for the Blue Jays series on Sunday. So don't worry, you didn't miss anything. The pitcher that was scheduled to face the Blue Jays would replace by Tyler Glasnow. He would take the start against the LA Angels, and that was Yamamoto. Why Yamamoto? I can't say the first name right, so I'll go and try my best with this. Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If I said that right, I'll just go with Y Yamamoto. And of course, I'm trying to use the first letter of that last name, of that first name, which is of course Y, not W, but like Y. Yamamoto was the last name. If I pronounced the name wrong, I sincerely apologize. He was scheduled to go against Eric Lauer, but ended up getting, per whatever news it was, rescheduled to play against the Angels in game 1 of their series against the Dodgers. Now, we'll get you up to speed on that series when we get to our American League and National League standings update. But let's get you up to speed with game 3. So here we go. How did it all pan out? One thing is certain, we didn't see records change for the Dodgers and the Blue Jay pitching matchups in Eric Lauer and Tyler Glasnow, as they would remain at 7-2 for Eric Lauer, and for Tyler Glasnow, he would remain at 1-1. The records that did change were the 6-4 Jeff Hoffman record for the Blue Jays. He picks up the win, and Alex V would go from a 2-1 record to a 2-2 record, with Mason Fluharty getting his first save of the season, in which the Blue Jays and Dodgers played let's play back and forth in the series finale, as the Blue Jays tallied 5 runs, 9 hits, did not commit a single error in this ball game. The Dodgers had not committed a single error in this entire series, and they weren't going to commit an error against the Blue Jays, knowing they had a chance to sweep the Blue Jays and clear the series with no damage. Rather, the homestand, as they make their way to the LA Angels ballpark after the game of this series is done. They go 10 hits, 4 runs, and it is Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, this time on the opposite side of the field, with the Blue Jays taking a win after a quote-unquote late trio of Blue Jay home runs to get a what people are calling gutsy save for a rookie versus 2 most valuable players in Los Angeles. Of course, if you don't know what most valuable players means, it means MVP in short form. The team comparison in game 3 looks like this. The Blue Jays 5 runs, 9 hits, 3 homers. They touched base 20 times in this ball game. There were 2 stolen bases in the series, but that occurred in the 3rd and final game of this series, and they come off of the LA Dodgers, who left 16 men on base, homered twice against the Blue Jays in this game, Sunday afternoon, touched base 18 times just like they did in the last Night Owl game, which was, of course, Saturday, and gave the Blue Jays 10 hits to the 4 runs they also gave the Blue Jays. So they put up a fight against the Blue Jays, telling the story that you can handle a team like yourself who is willing to battle you and put it all on the line. All right. So where does that leave our records? Well, before we get there, it should be noted that in the third and final game of this series, defensively, the Blue Jays and Dodgers lined up like this. First off, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. remained at first base for the series finale. Davis Schneider gets a night off or an afternoon off as Nathan Luke comes into play right field. Bo Bichette comes in to play shortstop. Ty France is the designated hitter. Dalton Varsho in at center field. Ernie Clement in at second base. Joey Luperfido is back in the conversation. He'll play left field, and catching will be none other than Tyler Heidemann for the Blue Jays and John Schneider. Addison Barger is at third base. Knew I was forgetting somebody. So your infield would be at third base, second base, first base, and shortstop with the catcher Tyler Heidemann. It would be Addison Barger, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Ernie Clement, and that would be your infield with Tyler Heidemann. In your outfield, we would have Dalton Varsho, which would be in at right field. Joey Luperfido would be in left field. And yes, Dalton Varsho would be in center field. How did David Roberts line his team up in Game 3? Shohei Ohtani, designated hitter for Game 1, designated hitter for Game 2. How about we continue that with designated hitter for Game 3? Now, I have my thoughts on how people do this where they put the same guy as the designated hitter for the same game over and over again. And potentially, I think of the point of you will get burnt if you put him there when he actually wants to play. But in Shohei Ohtani's world of the Dodgers, knowing that he can pitch and he can hit, there's really nothing more you can say about him other than he deserves a designated hitter role. So I will give David Roberts the benefit of the doubt, saying that it's a great idea to keep him as the designated hitter. Freddie Freeman at first base. Mookie Betts goes in at shortstop. Will Smith comes in to catch the game for Tyler Glasnow. You have Andy Pages out in center field. Teoscar Hernandez out in right field. A Blue Jay in his own right, now a Dodger. Max Muncy is at third base. At second base is Miguel Rojas. And in left field is Alex Call. Alex Call will be in, of course, the left field side alongside right fielder Teoscar Hernandez and center fielder Andy Pages. At second base, we have Miguel Rojas. Max Muncy is your third baseman. Your center fielder, as mentioned, is, let me see. Oh, yes, Andy Pages. Freddie Freeman is batting in the fifth spot. He is first base. Catching is Will Smith. Mookie Betts is your shortstop. And once again, right field and left field, Alex Call and Teoscar Hernandez. So there you go. Now that both games are in the books, the final record for both teams going into their next series, which of course for the Dodgers began Monday, August 10th, 2025, was, as that has probably changed right now, 68-50. Meanwhile, for the Blue Jays, their record went from 68-50 to 69-50 with stressful baseball, as people were calling it. Now, there were some things to consider here with the top performers of the game now being shown here for game number 3, and of course the player of the game. For example, Tyler Glasnow went 5 2/3 innings, allowing 4 hits from the Blue Jays, striking out 8 Blue Jay hitters, and only giving out 2 earned runs from the Blue Jays. While Vladimir Guerrero Jr. also had a homer in this game, he finishes the day with a 2-for-4 percentage of a double, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. So he had a 2 for 4 day. Freddie Freeman, he had a 1 for 3 day with a homer, 2 walks, 3 RBIs, and of course he drove in a run. So he did walk twice, but he remains 1 for 3. And the player of the game in game number 3 is none other than Ernie Clement, the homer, the strikeouts, and the RBI. So he may have struck out twice, but when it really mattered, Blue Jay fans, as we all remember watching, and if we weren't watching the game, we were waiting to find out who did watch the game and how they could get us caught up to speed. Well, if you were wondering, it was stressful, but the Blue Jays come out and avoid the sweep to the Dodgers. They take 1 out of 3. They take it 5-4 with the winning pitcher, Jeff Hoffman. His record 7-4. So it's 7-4, not 6-4, 7-4 right now. The losing pitcher is Alex V. His record now 2-2. His record before was 2-1. He was hoping to remain with just 1 loss, not in the cards. And if he had won with the Dodgers, not only would the Dodgers have cleared the series or sweep the Blue Jays for that matter, but his record, being the winning pitcher, would have went to 3-1. Not the case. And the Blue Jays bullpen saver is Mason Fluharte. His record remains where it is, but he does pick up his first save of the season. So how about that, Blue Jay fans? You get stressful baseball, but the Blue Jays make it interesting, and they find a way to win the ball game. And speaking of finding ways to win ball games, we are going to get in to our Game 2 top performer on the other side. But first, coming up, when we return on Blue Jays Game Recap, we will not only give you Game 2 top performers of the game and the player of the game, but we will each dive into Game 3 and 2 players of the game for the teams that lost those games, the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, and we will set up the series for the Dodgers and the Blue Jays coming up after they play 3 with the Cubs, and I believe it's 3 with the Angels of Anaheim against the Dodgers, continuing today, Tuesday, August 12th, while the Blue Jays series starts today with the Cubs, August 12th, and runs until Thursday, August the 14th, which will be a 3:07 start. More Blue Jays baseball on Blue Jays Game Recap coming your way when we return. Stay with us.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Well, this is news to us Blue Jays fans, Dodger fans, as we welcome you back into Blue Jays game recap. I was going to jump right into game 3 and game 2's finale piece of this point of Blue Jays game recap. But before we do, it would seem that we have word on what month is coming up. And hockey fans, if your team is no longer that you were cheering for in the MLB is no longer in the postseason by the time we hit October, this could be great time to get ready for your favorite hockey team, getting ready for their own little season starting in October once the preseason gets underway. The MLB announced how this year's October baseball postseason will be run. Let's go over just a few things. Now, looking at this map, it appears as though if you are number one in the American League East, Central, or West, if you are one of the top teams for the ADS, the American League Division season, otherwise known as ALDS, which right now the Blue Jays are the top dog. You will play the winner of the 5th and 4th round seed in the wild card. That could be anyone in the 5th and 4th round, part of the wild card race. The ALDS second place spotter, which is currently Detroit, if I'm not mistaken, will play the winner of the American League wild card from either 6th or 3rd place. And the same will go for the National League leaders. Number 1 and number 2 will play in the NLDS, either against 5th, 4th for the number 1 wild card spot of the National League Division Series, or the number 2 National League Division Series champions who is in the National League at number 2. They will either play the 3rd and 6th place team of the wild card race. The games will take place on September 3rd with the World Series scheduled, presented by Capital One on Fox, to play Friday, October 20th at the home of the league championship with the superior 2025 regular season record. So, just to recap, the wild card begins on Tuesday, September 30th. Game 1 of whoever's left standing in the World Series will begin on Friday, October 24th. Now, the openers of all 4 American League and National League Division Series presented by Booking.com will begin on October 4th as scheduled in the postseason run. The overall division series is scheduled to run from October 4th through Saturday, October 11th, with the potential Game 5 Friday, October 10th, and Saturday, October 11th for the National League Division Series and the American League Division Series, potential Game 5s. Games can be heard on Fox, FS1, along with Fox Sports. They will combine to cover the ALDS, while TNT Sports will simulcast the National League Division Series on TBS, True TV, and HBO Max. The American League Championship Series will be presented by Lone Deport and begin Sunday, October 12th, and will be televised on Fox, FS1, along with Fox Sports. The National League Championship Series, also presented by Lone Depot, will set to start Monday, October 13th, and will be broadcasted across TBS and True TV, HOB Max as well. So HOB Max will also have there. If Game 7s are determined in the American League Championship Series, they will be scheduled for Monday, October 20th, with the National League Championship Series playing Game 7 on Tuesday, October 21st. If Game 7s are necessary in the World Series Championship game, they will be played on Saturday, November 1st. The scheduled off days during the World Series are Sunday, October 20th and Thursday, October 30th, based on necessary Game 6. Fox Sports and Fox Sports will present live telecast coverage of the World Series for the 28th time. All games telecast on TNT Sports platforms Fox, FS1 will be available to MLB.TV subscribers who are authenticated subscribers to the political networks through a participating paid TV provider. The Wildcard series will also be available via ESPN app. ESPN Radio will provide live national coverage for the 2025 MLB postseason, beginning with the Wildcard series. In addition to coverage by Fox Sports, 2025 postseason games will also be telecast in Spanish on ESPN Deportes and Universion. While Universion Radio will provide Spanish league audio coverage, the 2025 postseason broadcast to 203 countries by 44 media partners in 16 languages around the globe. MLB Network will air extensive studio coverage throughout the postseason across the Emmy Award-winning MLB Tonight, the Emmy-nominated MLB Central, MLB Now, and International Talk. So here's what we have in terms of the schedule. I'll go over the Wild Card series, and we could talk about the division series for the American League and National League another time, but a link to this schedule will be provided in our episode's description. So Wild Card A and Wild Card B for the American League. The series will start on September 3rd, and that includes the National League as well. Game 2 will fall on Game 3 will fall on October 2nd. And then, as mentioned in the schedule, it will depend on how many games we have to play as to how long the series will go. But the final day of the wildcard games will be the 2nd of October. All right, everybody, let's get back to the action. As mentioned, the player of the game for the Toronto Blue Jays and the 5-4 Blue Jay victory as they avoid the sweep is Ernie Clement. Mason Fluharty, his first save of the season. Jeff Hoffman, the winning pitcher. Alex V, the losing pitcher. The records 2-2, 7-4 for both Jeff Hoffman and Alex V. The records heading into the Angels-Dodgers series for the Dodgers 68-50. And the Angels record, I'll reveal that momentarily. But that series continues today. Before we dive in to the Dodger player of the game, even though the Dodgers lost a game where they could have potentially took care of business and swept the series with the Blue Jays, that player of the game coming up. Their player of the game, as far as top performers go, Max Muncy, 2 for 3 with a homer, a walk, and 2 RBIs. He joins Blake Snell with 5 innings complete, 10 strikeouts, 3 hits allowed, no runs allowed, and Shohei Ohtani in the top performers, 2 for 4, a homer, a walk, 2 RBIs, or an RBI, and 2 runs. Chris Bassett, the losing pitcher, 11-6 his record, and we have Blake Snell, 2-1 right now, with his record at 2-1. So for the Blue Jays, I didn't really get a chance to say a player of the game for game number 1, but I will say a player of the game for game number 2 as we get to our player of the game for the Dodgers in game number 3, which was by far an all-out war between the teams. I mean, it was playoff baseball, folks. Player of the game for me, I could go with Ernie Clement, but I actually think you got to give credit where credit is due, and sometimes credit can be due to the guys that take the most chances at walks and not the chances at hits, and that was Dalton Varsho with 2 walks. Yes, he struck out twice, I know, but in just 2 at-bats, all he really did was walk and get on base. If you can't get on base by hitting, you need to take your walks, and Dalton Varsho did that. He is your Blue Jays player of the game, but I think we need to give Ernie a little bit of credit because he did go 4 for 2, 2 for 4 in that case, driving in a run, getting an RBI, and yes, he did strike out twice, but he does manage to bring up someone home. So there you go. And that someone was him, and that someone, of course, also had a home run, which means an RBI. Not only does he drive in an RBI, but it's all him. So 2 players of the game for the Blue Jays, Ernie Clement and Dalton Varsho. All right, before we forget, let's take a look at how the teams are doing heading into August 12th's matchups. The Boston Red Sox continue their series with the Astros, who are 67 and 52. That series just began, I believe, Monday, which was yesterday. And the series with the Tigers, I believe, is just beginning, who are 69 and 51. I don't believe they were in action last night. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, though, their series continues. They are 69 and 59. The Blue Jays series, I know for sure, starts today with the Cubs as August 12th. They are currently at the top of the chain against the Tigers for now, with the Tigers just 1 loss away from seeing their division changing. They can have a tie for first if the Blue Jays lose to the Cubs today, and if the Tigers lose, it's still pretty much up for grabs. But one thing is for sure, both teams, Blue Jays, Tigers, and the Astros, are hoping to win their games and push the wild card teams, right now the Seattle Mariners, Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, away from taking their spots. Right now, the Yankees are 63 and 56. They'll begin a series with the Minnesota Twins, or rather continue a series with the Minnesota Twins. Boston Red Sox will continue a series with the Houston Astros. 65 and 55 is the record right now. Seattle Mariners haven't lost a game yet. They're on a 7-game winning streak and are at 66 and 53, just 3 games up on the wild card race with the first wild card spot. And the second wild card and third wild card spots are the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox for now. But just about a game back of the Yankees and maybe 2 games back of the Red Sox, we have the Cleveland Guardians, currently on a 1-game losing streak right now. They'll begin a series with the Miami Marlins. Perhaps they've already began a series with the Miami Marlins in this game too, as they are 61 and 56 right now, just a game out of the wild card race. The Texas Rangers just 2.5 games out of the wild card race, and they're opening a series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I do believe they did not play last night, so they will be opening a series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. 61 and 59 is the record there. 59-60 is the record between the Nationals' opponent, the Kansas City Royals, who open a series with the Washington Nationals, who are 47 and 71 right now in the wild card race. The LA Angels are playing the LA Dodgers, and now the Angels are at 57 and 62. Now with 57 wins and 62 losses, they're hoping to stay away from their third loss until the time is right. Can they do the Dodgers a favor and probably lose a game? Probably they can, but we'll see. The Dodgers, with that loss, are now 68 and 51 on a 2-game losing streak. The Milwaukee Brewers, just like the Seattle Mariners, haven't lost a game. This is the National League standings update. As Baltimore Orioles take on the Seattle Mariners. We just remembered what their record was. They're taking on the Baltimore Orioles at 66 and 53. The Baltimore Orioles are 53-65. The Athletics are taking on the Tampa Bay Rays, 53 and 68. That record for the Athletics, who are just 11 games back. The Tampa Bay Rays are just 5.5 games back of the wild card race at 58 and 62. The White Sox are taking on the Detroit Tigers, currently now 43 and 60 and 76. They are 43 and 76, just 20 games out of the wild card race in the American League. So right now, only the White Sox are 20 games out of the wild card race, but I think they're a lot out of the division. I don't know. We'll check. Sometime next time, the Cubs are holding the first wild card spot. The Padres are holding the second wild card spot. And the Mets are holding the third wild card spot in the National League, with the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals, who are against the Colorado Rockies. The Cardinals are against the Rockies at 61 and 59. It's 30-88 versus 61-59. That's the St. Louis Cardinals record, with the Rockies record at 30 and 88. The Nationals are facing the Kansas City Royals at 47 and 71. They are just 16 games out of the wild card race. And of course, the Rockies are 33 games out of the wild card race, but things can change. The Pirates are 13 games out of the wild card race at 51 and 69. They're playing the Milwaukee Brewer leaders, who have not lost a game and are on a 10-game winning streak right now. 10-0 in their last 10 games. The Miami Marlins are at 57 and 61. They are currently against the Cleveland Guardians. So that is your division race right now for the wild cards in the American League and National League. We're not going to share our screen, but we are going to give you the scoreboards for Sunday and Saturday's finishing lines. Now, the Orioles do lose to the Athletics 3-2. So that means the Athletics record, as we just mentioned in our standings update, is now 53 and 67, heading into their matchup that they now take on. The Yankees are 62 and 56 after losing 7-1 to the Houston Astros, who are now 66 and 52. The Marlins also got beat 7-1. They are 57 and 61 right now over the Atlanta Braves, who are 51 and 67 and take it 7-1 over the Marlins. The Cincinnati Reds play smackdown against the Pittsburgh Pirates 14-8 with 14 hits, 14 runs, and one error that could have cost them the game. But the Pirates come out on top, 16 hits, don't commit an error. And while they do lose the game 14-8, they do only tally 8 runs. So they do lose the game. The Reds kind of get a little bit of a breather there after putting the Pirates down 14-8. The Tigers against the Angels, the opponent of which the Dodgers are against right now, and they take it 9-5 with the records 68 and 51, 56-62 for the Angels, thanks to the Tigers at 56 and 62. They are now currently into the first game of the Dodgers series, 57 and 62, with the Dodgers now 68 and 51. That final score was 4-7 in favor of the Angels. The American League East opponents for the Blue Jays, besides the Yankees, have a lot to talk about as well. The Padres beat the Red Sox 65-54, the Red Sox record right now. The Padres record 66-52. They take it 6-2 over the Boston Red Sox. The Texas Rangers 4-2 losers to the Philadelphia Phillies, 68 Phillies, and now 60 and 59 for the Texas Rangers, 4-2. They lose it to the Phillies of Philadelphia. The Washington Nationals had a beatdown on the San Francisco Giants Sunday, 8-0. Their record 47 and 70. Heading into Monday's contest, if they were playing, or Tuesday's contest, which of course is today, the record for the Giants is now tied at 59 and 59. The D-backs record, after smacking the Rockies to make them 30 and 87 in their record, take themselves to 57 and 61 with a 13-6 beatdown on the Rockies, with the Cubbies losing to the Cardinals 3-2. The records for that game, 60 and 59 for the Cardinals and 67-50 for the Chicago Cubs. Now the Tampa Bay Rays are against the Seattle Mariners as the last game to look at. And of course, our game was 4-5 in favor of the Blue Jays, 5-4. But The Tampa Bay Rays do lose this game 6-3 to the Mariners with a big inning in the first inning. 4 runs scored in the home half of the Mariners' first inning. Their record 66-53. The Rays record 57-5. So they are 57 wins and 62 losses. They have lost now 62 games in this season. How were they though heading into Sunday's action when the Blue Jays lost 9-1 to the Dodgers? Well, the Yankees fared a little better than the Astros did on Sunday. They beat the Astros 5-4, 62-55, and the Astros record 65-52 with the loss to the Yankees. The Dodgers fight hard, of course, and they do win 9-1 over the Blue Jays, so we know where that record was heading into game number 3, which we just broke down. The Giants, however, not so lucky against the Nationals, 46-70, their record 59-58 heading into Sunday, losing 4-2 to the Nationals, who are now 46-70 heading into Sunday. This matchup, with a 4-2 victory. The Baltimore Orioles get their butts kicked by the Athletics. 52-67 was the record for the Athletics right now. Heading into Sunday, the Orioles record is 53-64 at that time. Heading into Sunday, and it is 11-3 Athletics over the Orioles. Tigers lose to the Angels 7-4. Their record 56-61. Heading into Sunday, and the Tigers record 67-51. They lose 7-4 in Comerica Park to the LA Angels. The Cincinnati Reds play a game of Can You Catch Me with the Pittsburgh Pirates on Saturday as they come out to win 2-1 and improve their record to 61-57, while the Pirates record goes from 51-68 to 51-67. On to the Mets, where they will fight hard, but the Brewers will have the answer. They are 72-44 heading into Sunday against the now 63-54 New York Mets. The Cleveland Guardians find Pater and beat the Guardians, now 61-55 for the Guardians. They beat the White Sox 3-1, who are now 42-75. Heading into Sunday, Kansas City shuts down the Twins 2-0, 58-59 for the Royals, and 55-61 for the Twins heading into Sunday. And speaking of shutdowns, how about a 9-1 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals by the Chicago Cubs in St. Louis with a 67-49 record? The Texas Rangers and the Philadelphia Phillies, the record 67-49, 60-58 for the Texas Rangers. And the final score, Phillies beat the Rangers 3-2. The Arizona Diamondbacks 56-61 heading into Sunday. 30-86 was the record for the Colorado Rockies. They lose it 6-5. The Miami Marlins had a doubleheader against the Atlanta Braves, taking game 2 of the series, which puts them at a record of 57-60, losing the first game, which was a makeup for April 6th due to rain or inclement weather, and that, of course, would leave the Braves with their record from 49-67, taking a 7-1 victory into game 2 of the doubleheader. Braves took both games in the doubleheader. Their record would continue to move. They are 49-67, beating the Marlins 57-59, 7-1, and then they take it 8-6, 8-6. The Braves sweep the doubleheader, and they take the record from 57-59 for the Marlins to 57-60 for the Marlins. The Atlanta Braves 50-67. All right. So that was Saturday, and that was Sunday's records. Speaking of Monday, now that we've gone over most of the records, which I believe had changed, it's time now, since we've gone over the top performers and the player of the game for game number 2, It's time now to get over to our player of the game for game number 3 for the Dodgers. But before we do, let's get you caught up to speed with the Monday records as of the Monday finals. So, the Philadelphia Phillies take on the Cincinnati Reds, who currently were 68 and 49. They are now 69 and 49, putting a 62 and 57 Cincinnati Reds to a 62 and 58 record, a 62 and 58 record with a 4-1 victory over the Cincinnati Reds. The New York Yankees also in action on Monday. They beat the Twins 6-2. Their record is now 63 and 56. And the Minnesota Twins record is now 56 and 62. That series, I believe, is continuing today, as it started on Monday, yesterday. We will not get into the pitching matchups for the Dodgers or the Blue Jays, because we are in the wrap-up point. We will tell you who the Blue Jays will start and who the Cubs will start, and we will go over briefly what the Dodgers and Blue Jays schedule looks like after the Cubs, the Angels, which series continues today. As you just noted, they lost to the Angels 7-4. Jose Suriano with the victory. The Boston Red Sox also lost to the Astros. The record now 65 and 55. It's 65 and 55. The Astros with the victory are 67 and 52. The Rangers are 61 and 59, taking it to the Diamondbacks 6-7. They are 57 and 62. The Pirates lost to the Brewers. That's the 10th straight win for the Brewers. Their 74th win of the season. They are now 74-44. The Pirates are now 51 and 69 with that loss to the Brewers. The Tigers are 69 and 51 with the victory over the now 43 and 76 Chicago White Sox. And the Kansas City Royals are 59 and 60 with the 7-4 victory over the now 47 and 71 Washington Nationals. The Rockies are now 30 and 88 with a 3-2 loss to the St. Louis Cardinals, who are now 61 and 59. The Padres also in action against the Dodgers. They win a match while the Dodgers lose and are now just a game back of taking over the National League West Division against the Dodgers. They take it 4-1 Monday night over the Giants and improved to 67 and 52, while the Giants improved to 59 and 60. And the Athletics were playing the Tampa Bay Rays, and the series got started Monday. The Athletics lose 7-4, 58-62, 53-68, where the Athletics lie right now. Tampa Bay Rays 58 and 62. All right, everyone, the Dodger player of the game for Sunday. Here we go. And I honestly have to say that while I want to get into the pitching lines for both game 2 and game 3 of this series finale, while I'd honestly like to talk about them, I think I'm just going to give my player of the game for the Dodgers to the man that, although it wasn't the pitcher that was supposed to start the ball game for the Dodgers in the series finale, in Yamamoto, I think it was probably better to have a guy like Tyler Glasnow, whose record still remains at 1-1, because he did not get the loss. Because if you look at what Tyler Glasnow did, he had a pretty good inning of work. 5 2/3, 4 hits allowed. Yes, that's going to hurt. He walked 4 batters. That's going to hurt. But take the walks, take the 4 hits away, even though there are 2 runs, which were earned, and put the 8 Ks in, and you got a pretty good pitching matchup from David Roberts. So Tyler Glasnow is your player of the game for the Dodgers in the series finale, in which The Dodgers win the series 2 games out of 3, but the Blue Jays take 1 out of 3 and avoid getting swept in front of an attendance record of 41,057 fans in attendance. First pitch, 1:10 p.m. Pacific. That was the time of the game. It took 3 hours and 16 minutes to complete. And while the Dodgers and Blue Jays fought hard, but the Dodgers took it anyway in game 2, 9-1, and then of course 5-1. Your final attendance record in game 2 with the Dodgers taking the series in front of a game that took 2 hours and 50 minutes to complete. 44,727 fans in attendance. That's it for Night Owl Baseball. For now, that's it for the afternoon series with the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. But now that the Dodgers are against the Angels, what's next for the Dodgers? And what's next for the Blue Jays once they're through with the rather interesting Chicago Cubs? Well, let's talk about the Dodgers first, since they are the topic of this conversation. Now, the Dodgers are taking on the Angels currently, but what's next after the Angels? Well, they will return home for a short 3-game homestand beginning Friday night against the San Diego Padres. Oof, that is going to be a Division West National League battle, but we would not expect anything less. The Rockies will then open 4 games with them, weather permitting, in Denver, Colorado at Coors Field, beginning Monday, August 18th, and finishing Thursday, August 20th, before the Dodgers open a 3-game series in San Diego against the Padres again. So some divisional matchups to be finished with before the Dodgers return home for a 6-game homestand, ending with the Arizona Diamondbacks, beginning with the Cincinnati Reds. And their road trip will begin after that homestand with 3 with the Pirates and 3 with the Orioles as we hit the last month of the season. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, as the games go by. Whew. So lots of baseball still yet to be played, but not a lot of games left, folks. After the Angels, it's 3 games back at Dodger Stadium with the Padres, but then the Padres will see them in San Diego for 3 games as well, after 4 with the Rockies. Whew. That's going to be fun for the Dodgers. For the Blue Jay fans, once we're done with the Cubs, up next for your Blue Jays, besides the Pittsburgh Pirates, which will have those for you during their road series, plus the Miami Marlins, they'll open up a Texas Rangers series weekend set beginning Friday so those will be your matchups for the Texas Rangers. We'll have them, of course, and of course, Saturday's game is a day game. That will be before the Blue Jays hightail into PNC Park and get ready for 3 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Sure to be fun. For now, those of you who have enjoyed the Dodgers content and have enjoyed watching Dodgers baseball, championship baseball against the Blue Jays, let's say hello, everyone, from Dodger Stadium when we see the San Diego Padres. But for now, eavesdrop on the Blue Jays and the Dodgers as they both prepare to continue their series in Anaheim against the Angels and begin their series against the Chicago Cubs. From outside the Blue Jays game recap studio, I am Thomas McGregor, and we will see you back here on Sports for Beginners and on the ice and behind the benches when the Pirates host the Blue Jays for 3 games beginning Monday. The pitching matchup that you will look forward to at Chicago's opener is the 8-4 Jose Barrios for the Blue Jays, Ben Brown against the 8-4 Jose Barrios. All right, everyone, have yourselves a great week, and we'll see you next time. Pirates and Jays, next time on Blue Jays Game Recap. Lights up, let's go. thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time. Thank you so much for listening to the On the Ice and Behind the Benches post-game show on the Sports for Beginners podcast feed. Remember, everybody on the Ice and Behind the Benches, to join Thomas every Tuesday for weekly episodes of your favorite ice content, from the drop of the puck to hitting the showers. We thank you for joining us. Hey Blue Jays fans, a Blue Jays game recap for Sports for Beginners. It is your host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, the podcast, Thomas McGregor here. While it may have come to an end on Sports for Beginners, I highly encourage you to stay tuned for further updates on Sports for Beginners as they are taking a new path. But don't be afraid to join me during the next road series as Blue Jays game recap continues on the Ice and Behind the Benches. From all of us at Sports for Beginners who put Blue Jays game recap into play, thank you very much for joining us and listening to the show. If you'd like to see it again, please let our host of Sports for Beginners know, and have yourselves a great All-Star weekend and a great second half. See you then.